Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast this morning. My name is Josh Floor, and I am currently a PhD student in the Kansas State Swine Nutrition Group, and I'll be presenting my Midwest presentation looking at the effects of high levels of phytase in low lysine diets on the growth performance of nursery pigs. Phytase is an enzyme commonly used in swine diets to reduce the inclusion rate of inorganic phosphorus sources and to reduce phosphorus excretion by the animal. The way phytase works is by catalyzing the stepwise removal of phosphate from phytic acid or phytate, which is the common storage form of phosphorus in cereal grains that we utilize for swine nutrition. And technologically, the manufacturers of phytase enzymes continue to improve the efficacy of the enzyme, and we've seen that with improved activity levels of the enzyme at higher temperatures that we associate with feed manufacturing, and also at lower pHs that we more commonly see in the digestive tract endogenously in the pig. Now, there's been a lot more interest more recently looking at providing phytase at concentrations much higher than those needed to meet the pig's phosphorus requirement. And this is believed to improve digestibility of other nutrients, and the practice is called superdosing. However, the results associated with this practice and the observed improvement in digestibility of other nutrients, specifically amino acids and energy, have been inconsistent as we look across research studies. Now, last year at Midwest Abstract, Walk and others concluded that amino acid and energy matrix values can be considered when adding phytase to the diet. And we hypothesized here at K-State that by feeding a diet below the pig's lysine requirement, any improvements in amino acid digestibility coming from the superdosing practice of phytase may be more readily observed or captured in animal growth performance. So that leads us into the objective of these two experiments, and the objective was to determine the effects of phytase beyond meeting the phosphorus requirement of the animal in diets formulated to be adequate or low in standardized ileal digestible lysine on nursery pig performance. Starting with the materials and methods in the first experiment, we utilized a total of 360 nursery pigs, and those were maternal line PIC barrows, and they were used in an 18-day study with 5 pigs per pen and 18 pens per treatment. We fed common pretest diets from weaning to 14 days post-weaning, and then 14 days post-weaning, pens were randomly assigned to one of 4 dietary treatments in a 2x2 factorial. And we looked at the main effects of lysine level. We fed either an adequate diet, which was formulated to be 1.2% SID lysine, or 100% of the animal's requirement, or we fed a diet that was low in lysine, that was formulated to be 1.05% SID lysine, or approximately 87.5% of the animal's requirement. Then we also looked at the main effects of added phytase. We added either 500 or 3,000 FYTs or phytase units per kilogram of the diet. And in this experiment, basal diets were formulated to contain 0.33% available phosphorus. The phytase source that we utilized in this study was Rondazyme High-Phos, which is the newest generation phytase manufactured by DSM Nutritional Products, and it was assumed to release a 0.13% available phosphorus release, with an inclusion rate of 500 phytase units per kilogram. Also, data was analyzed as a completely randomized design using the proc mix procedure in SAS, with pen as the experimental unit, and we looked and tested the main effects of phytase, lysine, and then their interactions as well. And this study was conducted at the Kansas State Segregated Early Wean Facility located in Manhattan. A quick look at the diet composition. We can see that we have our 2 formulated diets of either adequate or low lysine. And again, the biggest difference in the ingredient composition of those diets is that we had a higher inclusion rate of corn and a lower inclusion rate of soybean meal in the low lysine diet. And then also, one note is that, again, we added phytase into these diets by replacing corn in order to achieve our 500 or 3,000 phytase units per kilogram. And again, we assumed a release value of 0.13% available phosphorus with the 500 FYT addition into the diet. Okay, a quick look at the calculated diet analysis. Again, we have our two SID lysine concentrations in our two diets. And again, we tried to maintain similar amino acid to lysine ratios across our two diets. And then if we go down and look at our available phosphorus, again, the basal diet was formulated to be 0.33% available phosphorus. And then with the 0.13% expected release from 500 phytase units, again, our available phosphorus levels were 0.46 in those diets. Okay, moving into the results. Take a second, set up my slides. Again, I'll be reporting the interactive means. So we'll have our two lysine levels of either 1.2% SID lysine or 1.05% SID lysine. And within our SID lysine level, we have our two phytase concentrations of either 500 or 3,000 FYTs per kilogram. And again, if we look here at average daily gain first, throughout the study from day 0 to 18, we can see that there was no significant lysine by phytase interaction with a p-value equal to 0.78. But if we look at the main effect of lysine, we can see that pigs consuming diets formulated to be 100% of their requirement, or 1.2% SID lysine, had increased average daily gain compared to those diets formulated to be 1.05% SID lysine, or about 87.5% of their requirement. If we look at the phytase main effect, we did not see a significant difference based on phytase level with a p-value of 0.33. Okay, looking at average daily feed intake, we did not see a significant interaction, nor did we see a significant lysine or phytase main effect with p-values greater than 0.64. Okay, looking at feed efficiency, again, similar to our average daily gain, we did not see a significant lysine by phytase interaction with a p-value equal to 0.99, but we did see a main effect of lysine, with pigs consuming 1.2% SID lysine having improved feed efficiency compared to those fed diets formulated to be 1.05% SID lysine. And again, we did not see a significant main effect of phytase with a p-value equal to 0.21. So in summary of the first experiment that we conducted, average daily gain and gain of feed were poorer for pigs fed diets containing low SID lysine. Again, this really stresses the importance of lysine when formulating nursery diets. But we also did not see any differences in growth performance based on phytase supplementation. Now, one thing that we took into account was that this study was done at a university research facility with a small number of pigs per pen and a much lower stress environment compared to what we see commercially in the field. So we still had the question, well, what is the influence of phytase and low lysine diets when fed in a commercial nursery setting when we have more pigs per pen and an increased stress level based on the environment? So this leads us into our second experiment. Again, in this study, we utilized 2,592 nursery pigs in a 36-day study. There were 27 pigs per pen and 16 pens per treatment. Pigs were weaned at approximately 21 days of age and fed common pretest diets until 21 days post-weaning. And at the start of this study, at 21 days post-weaning, pens were randomly allotted this time to one of 6 dietary treatments, and those pigs were fed in 2 phases, phase 1 from day 0 to 22 of the study, and phase 2 from day 22 to 36 of the study. And again, the 6 treatments that we fed, we had a positive control diet that was formulated to be adequate in lysine, and those lysine levels were 1.2% SID lysine for phase 1, and 1.1% SID lysine for phase 2. And again, that positive control diet was formulated to contain 250 phytase units per kilogram. Then we had a series of low lysine diets, again formulated to be 1.1 and 1.0% SID lysine for phase 1 and 2 respectively. And that series of low lysine diets contained either 250, 500, 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 FYTs of phytase per kilogram. Again, we utilized the same phytase source as the first experiment, Ronazyme high-phos. And in this study, daily feed additions were performed using a robotic feeding system provided by FeedLogic Corporation. And for the low lysine diet treatments, we actually manufactured the low phytase level of 250 FYTs per kilogram and the high phytase level of 3,000 FYTs per kilogram at the feed mill. That feed was delivered to the farm, and then those diets were blended using the robotic feeding system to form the intermediate treatments in the barn. And again, data in this study was analyzed as a completely randomized design using the proc mix procedure in SAS with pen as the experimental unit. And we compared the pairwise, or we looked at and analyzed the pairwise comparison of the positive control diet compared to the low lysine treatment with the same phytase concentration. And within the low lysine diets, we looked at the linear and quadratic contrast to compare phytase level. Again, a brief look at the diet composition in this second experiment. Again, we have our phase 1 diets, our phase 2 diets formulated to be either high or adequate in lysine, 100% of the animal's requirement, or low in lysine, which is approximately 90 to 91% of the animal's requirement. And again, similar to the first experiment, the largest difference in diet formulation was the inclusion rate of corn and soybean meal from the high and the low lysine diets. And again, in this study, we added phytase by replacing corn to achieve our experimental treatments, and this time with a 250 phytase units per kilogram inclusion rate in the diet. We expected a release value of 0.1% available phosphorus. Looking at the calculated composition, again, we have our lysine formulated levels, and we tried to maintain similar amino acid to lysine ratios. And again, our basal diets were formulated to be either 0.33 or 0.21% available phosphorus in phase 1 and 2, respectively. And with the inclusion rate of 250 phytase units per kilogram, we expected to achieve a 0.1% available phosphorus release to reach our final dietary available phosphorus concentrations of either 0.43 or 0.31% available phosphorus. Okay, moving into the results, looking at average daily gain throughout the length of the study. I'll be reporting interactive means. So we have our positive control diet, and then we have our 5 low lysine diets with increasing phytase concentrations within those low lysine diets. And so if we look at our means, when we compare the high versus low lysine diet, comparing this mean to the low lysine mean with the same phytase concentration, we saw an increase in average daily gain for pigs fed the high level of SID lysine compared to those fed the low level of SID lysine. And then we also saw a quadratic phytase response with a p-value less than 0.02. And as we increased phytase in the low lysine diets, we improved average daily gain, and we plateaued at about 1,000 FYTs per kilogram phytase inclusion level. If we look at average daily feed intake, again, we did not see a significant influence of lysine or phytase on average daily feed intake with p-values greater than 0.23. If we look at feed efficiency, again, we did see a significant lysine effect with pigs consuming higher levels of SID lysine having improved feed efficiency, but we did not see a significant phytase level response within the low lysine diets with p-values greater than 0.29. So in summary of the second experiment, again, as expected, average daily gain and gain of feed were greater for pigs fed the positive control diets compared to pigs fed the low lysine diet with the same phytase inclusion. Average daily gain in this study increased quadratically when phytase addition increased in the low lysine diets. Based on that response, pigs fed the low lysine diets formulated to be 1,000 FYTs per kilogram performed similarly to pigs consuming the positive control diet. So overall conclusions from these two experiments, again, they reinforce the importance of adequate lysine to promote growth performance in nursery pigs. But these studies also illustrate the difference in response from university and commercial research settings, as indicated by a phytase response detected only in the commercial study for average daily gain. And then finally, in that commercial study, pigs fed diets low in lysine with 1,000 FYTs per kilogram phytase had performance similar to those fed diets with high lysine containing 250 phytase units per kilogram of the complete diet. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd also like to thank DSM Nutritional Products for funding the research, everyone at Kansas State University for helping finish and conduct these studies, and also for New Horizon Farms, which allowed us to utilize their facilities for the commercial research study.